Hello, my name is Michelle Boudreaux, and this is my presentation about the process of life coaching. And I tell you, I am so excited about this. This is my final step towards earning my master's degree in coaching, mentoring, and consulting. So I'm very excited about that. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Richard Weiser for such a phenomenal curriculum at the Life Catalyst Institute. This curriculum can be used in the community as well as in churches and in corporate America. This curriculum has personally helped me in tremendous ways in my personal life, in my ministry, specifically as the ladies ministry director at my local assembly here in Texas. My clients generally feel safe sharing their problems with me, their problems and their issues, as I am a certified clinical aromatherapist and licensed in spiritual healing. In addition to working in ministry, I have those credentials. So my clients feel very safe, and I'm thankful for that. Many people come to me for guidance in using essential oils and aromatherapy. And they also want help with stress management, with peak performance, emotional and spiritual guidance. They want help with family issues and grief management, anger management, and the like. So I'm thankful that the curriculum offered by Life Catalyst offers courses with so much insight to the issues that are shared with me by my clients and those that I encounter in ministry. I am also an administrative and design consultant. I create pieces, materials to be printed professionally. So I believe that because of this training, my clients there as well will benefit greatly. The courses within this degree program are already serving me in a great capacity. And I look forward to helping many more people with the knowledge and the tools that I have from my education with Life Catalyst Institute. This degree program is about helping people change. It's about transformation. Those people that desire a change, they are desperate for a change. This program is designed, this model is designed to help them. So let's talk about, what is a life coach? What is a life coach? A life coach is a mentor, and a mentor can be defined as a master, a guide, father figure, or a coach, just as you would have on a sports team, a coach, but in various arenas of life, a coach. And a good coach is about winning. He's all about winning and helping his team to win. This life coaching is about helping and serving another person in life. Specifically, mentorship is called discipleship. It's the same thing as discipleship in the church environment. Professionally speaking, a life coach is a mentor, and a mentor is a life coach. Now, as a mentor, we are to build a relationship with the one who has looked to us for guidance. We need to help them identify the obstacles that stand between them and their goals. As a mentor, we must be able to set goals, clearly set goals, and communicate with those that we are helping. And we absolutely have to be excellent listeners. We have to have excellent listening skills. So let's look at the 10 pillars of life coaching, which is the foundation of Life Catalyst. All of these together constitute the foundation of Life Catalyst. First, let's look at the difference between coaching and counseling. The difference between life coaching and counseling and therapy, if you want to call it therapy. It's important to know that counseling and therapy focuses on the client's past negatives. It also focuses on the analysis of the past and not setting goals or setting the course for the client's future. Not setting the course for the client's future. On the other hand, life coaching and mentoring or discipleship is based on the present. The past doesn't have to relate to the future in life coaching. So life coaches are focused on helping the client identify their obstacles, overcoming those obstacles, and reaching their goals. The coach and mentor helps others to win. That's our main goal. We want to help those that we mentor to win in life. Counselors that become life coaches tend to struggle because of the methods that they've already been trained to use. They struggle with life coaching. When they transition over to life coaching, they struggle. They dig into the past and they feel like they're making headway in the process, but what they're actually doing is, they're causing more pain to the client by having the client speak about the pain of the past over and over again. Such is what we see in AA meetings or Alcoholics Anonymous. So when I decided, or when I was deciding which educational path that I could take to enhance what I currently do as a practice, I had to decide, whether it was going to be counseling or life coaching. Which one am I going to add to my skill sets in ministry and as a clinical aromatherapist to better help the people that I assist So I'm so glad that I did do the research and I found out the best way. So life coaching is about transformation. It involves gap analysis, which allows us to close gaps between the past and the future to help the clients close that gap. It involves removing the obstacles that's between the person and where they want to be, where they aspire to be. So now we realize that mentoring is better than counseling or therapy. It's better. And the reason it's better is because it provides hope to the person being coached, to the person being mentored. And I'm so glad that I learned that life coaching is the better path versus counseling and therapy. You know, I don't want to keep reminding others of their past. I do not want to do that when they clearly need to remove obstacles and move towards their goals. There are 3 R's of life coaching, and they are as follows: recognition, being ready, and relationship. The person being coached needs to recognize the need for a change in their lives. They need to be ready to change. If they're not ready to change, they will not change. They need a relationship with a mentor, with a coach. So they must be engaged with a life coach that will guide them through the process of change. All sessions that Life Catalyst Institute offers are designed toward relationship in a non-threatening way. Next, let's discuss the concept of mentoring. It's how we learn to implement the process of mentoring to make an impact on another person's life. Charles Kettering, the famed inventor and head of research at GM, said a problem well stated is half solved. So when we help others identify their obstacle, a process can be implemented to remove or overcome the obstacle and move towards the goal set. Teaching and mentoring is combined in a powerful way in life coaching. The mentor knows more about life than the person being mentored. The mentor provides information and wisdom. He or she promotes specific skills and effective behaviors. He or she provides feedback. And as I've said before, a coach prepares you to win. In a time of crisis, a mentor is someone that can be reached out to. Ideas can be tested by the mentor, by the coach. They can be a sounding board for their person being coached. They can be a sounding board for them. A good coach nurtures curiosity. A mentor opens doors and does not close them. I love that. I love that. So people see a mentor as a competent leader. A mentor has to be willing to take risks, sticking with people over time. Be patient, have to have patience, and have interpersonal skills. However, we must never, ever advertise that we solve all problems, because we don't. We should never advertise that we solve any problems, because we don't. We teach life skills. As mentors, we evaluate. We learn to evaluate those that come to us for help. We provide a package to them to actually take them through a complete and thorough evaluation process. We provide the client with a life map. Many times people can tell you where they are, but they cannot tell you where they're going. They can't tell you what the goal is. So we assist them in identifying the obstacles. There again, we assist them in identifying their obstacles by defining and narrowing things down. When we provide our client with what is called the life map, it will give them direction. It will give them direction. Problems will be solved by the person being mentored, not by the mentor. So now, let's briefly talk about beliefs. Life coaches, mentors, help others form new beliefs about themselves. Your belief is formed from everything that anybody has ever said or done to you since you were a small child. Your beliefs come from your conclusion, what you have concluded about your life, yourself. And people have unhealthy beliefs about themselves. Life conclusions actually come at the beginning instead of the end. Whatever you tell your subconscious mind, that's what you're feeding your subconscious mind. So we have to teach others to challenge their incorrect and unhealthy beliefs. We have to help them change their conclusions. We have to change the mind by reprogramming it, because the mind is very, very, very powerful. And I thank God that He gave us a powerful mind. The Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Let's talk about the VAC system. VAC. V-A-K. The VAC system, which are representational systems. The VAC system just represents our representational systems, our senses that we use every day, our senses. VAC stands for visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. And here again, it is not a coincidence that I studied a little bit of kinesiology while learning about the application of essential oils and aromatherapy. Here's how the visual system works. The visual representational system allows us to see pictures in our mind. This is necessary and important to achieve success in most academic fields, to spur creativity and design, and for one to have clear thinking. So everyone uses the visual representational system for the purposes of recognition and recalling. So a picture is truly worth 1,000 words. You know, it takes me and it takes you longer to describe our surroundings with words to others than it would for us to just simply give a picture. It takes longer to describe it. So being visual, give a picture. Here's how the auditory system works. Listening. Using the auditory system enables us to make our thinking more creative, innovative, and flexible by imagining sounds with clarity. By this, we're able to transform our internal conversation. Sounds like self-talk here, right? Our internal conversation, so that it becomes positive, more supportive, and, you know, just listen. When we listen to music, we will be more able to enjoy the music. So, auditory, listening. Now, here's how the kinesthetic system works. There are 4 aspects of the kinesthetic representational system. The first one is body awareness, which is simply put muscle memory. Our awareness of our physical bodies is a vital part of how we relate, our rapport to ourselves, and is the foundation of being physically well and healthy. One cannot physically relax without a sense of body awareness. Although memory in the muscle takes longer for us to obtain, it takes longer to lose memory in the muscle. It's impossible to forget once we learn something in our muscles. It's impossible to forget. It's similar to learning how to ride a bike. We don't forget how to ride bikes. Emotions may be stored through muscle, which can lead to stress and physical illness. And I've studied this also. So we will know that we need to rest instead of being overworked and stressed out. We will know. Our bodies will let us know. Number 2 is the sense of touch. It simply means tactile or tangible, the sense of touch. Our most basic form of communication is touch. It starts with us as new babies. When a parent gives a loving touch to a baby or a small child, it just says that the world is friendly to that child, to that baby. As we gain more sensitivity to touch and feelings inside, the outside will become more sensitive. Number 3, balance, or the sense of balance, which is also called vestibular. Although the sense of balance may at times be differentiated as a distinct representational system, it may be differentiated as a distinct and representational system. it is usually deemed as a distinct case of the kinesthetic system. So we're talking about the sense of balance there, vestibular. The fourth item is, or would be, emotions. Emotions, empathetic. Our feelings regarding other feelings or experiences are metakinesthetics, or our emotions. It is our ability to feel our emotions, being in rapport and pacing ourselves. So we find that all emotions, whether they're negative or positive, have purpose, value, and meaning. When we become more sensitive and more apt to expressing our emotions. We all use representational systems to see, hear, to feel. That is how information gets into our conscious. We all have a preferred system that we use, one that we will utilize the most. For example, you hear, you see, but mostly you feel. So that's the way your conscience receives information. And that's just an example. So we need to understand how people are hearing us. So when we speak, when we preach, when we give talks, we need to engage all of the representational systems, because all of them will be a part of our listening audience. Let's briefly talk about the concept of obstacles. Some obstacles may not be what is actually presented as the obstacle by the person that we're mentoring. That is why we should do a thorough, very thorough evaluation process. It has to be a good evaluation process, because sometimes obstacles are harder to find. So we must help them define what that obstacle is. Then we can teach them how to attack it. How will they attack that obstacle? And we also need to know, does the client want the obstacle more than he or she wants the goal? We need to find out which one they want the most. So identifying that obstacle and removing it is key. Removing it is key. We need to build rapport. Rapport is a skill that anybody can learn, that anybody can build. The more this skill is used by a person, the better at it they will become. Rapport is a relationship characterized by harmony, affinity, a mutual liking, moving toward trust between people. So people gravitate to us when they detect the harmony, when they detect the affinity. When building rapport in a setting such as life coaching, some may not actually want to be present, at the beginning of the sessions, but as rapport is built, that will begin to break after a few sessions. I've seen this happen with ladies in our ladies sessions, in the ladies ministry sessions. So as the mentor, as the coach, we have to be empathetic. We need to mirror the other person's actions, especially in one-on-one coaching. We need to do that. We need to dress nice. We need to be well kept when we are building rapport. When we are not building rapport, things happen. We know things happen to repel people, and they don't gravitate towards us. So we need to be about the business of building rapport. Let's talk about building trust. So after we've worked on building rapport in the relationship, we have to work on strategies that will further enhance trust in the relationship. Here's some items that we have that we need to do, we need to work on when building trust. We have to keep our word. We have to do what we say we're going to do. We need to learn to be an effective communicator. We need to be patient in the relationship. We need to think before we make decisions. We need to take our time. We don't need to take people for granted ever, but we need to value our relationships. We need to treat others good and well. Say thank you. Thank them for coming to your sessions. I've incorporated this when I speak to the ladies at church. When we have our third Sunday Empowered Women's sessions at 9:15, I thank them for being there because they have families. They have husbands, and some of them have small children that they have to get up and they get them ready. I tell them thank you because they did not have to come an hour or so before service starts. Another thing we don't need to do is we don't need to get in a rut, but we need to continuously develop our mentoring skills. And whenever we can, whenever you can, help people out. Another thing we need to do is express our feelings. Don't hide your feelings. We're people too. Mentors are people too. Another thing that we need not do is, don't always promote yourself. Don't always promote yourself. And I want to add this, unless you're interviewing for a job. You're competing for a position, a job. Then promote yourself. But not as a mentor or a coach. Do what you believe is right. Always do what you believe is right. Be willing to admit your mistakes because you will make them. We all do. We all make mistakes. So it is important to remember that trust has to be reached in a relationship before a change takes place. The person being coached, the person being mentored has to trust the mentor. Another pillar that I want to talk about is grief coaching. Grief coaching. The way we see life does affect the way that we grieve. There are many different patterns of grief, small and large. Grief is as natural as breathing. Things that create grief in our lives are things such as divorce. Divorce creates grief in the hearts of the people involved in the family. especially the children. Retirement, especially if it's a forced retirement, forced separation from a job. Loss of a child through death. I remember my mother lost 4 children before me and my twin were born. We were the last ones born, but she lost 4 children. Her first 3, and then another one when she was pregnant with my twin and I. So I cannot even imagine the grief that she felt, her and my father. People can grieve for a child that rebels, or even a child that marries. Disease and terminal illness causes grief. The news of cancer, bad news from your doctor. Disease, okay, we mentioned that. Financial loss, job or a business loss causes grief. When there is loss of a pet. So there are many ways that people grieve. And the cycle of grief can be set in motion by anything, many things. Many people suffer through some type of sorrow or trauma, but have not been able to work through that. So we as coaches and mentors help them with what is called grief work. Grief work. We need to help people work through several stages of grief. One of them is the state of shock. The state of shock acts as an anesthesia during a time of loss, such as death. It keeps you from facing the grim reality of the loss. After all the planning for a loved one's funeral, a person is able to smile and greet people at the service. And I realized that is what happened to me as I planned my father's funeral, my oldest brother's funeral, my mother's funeral. I worked on the program. I made phone calls. I went to the funeral home. I was with my siblings, but I was there. And I didn't realize it at that time, but that was the anesthesia that kept me going. And I was able to still smile and, move, go through the motions. But after the anesthesia wore off, the loss set in. And oh my goodness, the grief that is felt, the devastation. You realize that you won't be able to talk to that person anymore. It's a horrible feeling of grief. So, we notice that this happens to a lot of people during a time of death, a loss due to death. If the anesthetic effect, the state of shock, goes on for too long, for months, the person needs to get help. Another stage of grief is expressing emotions. When it's about to dawn on you how great and dreadful the loss is, there is an emotional release. Emotional release. And I've also studied emotional release when I was becoming a clinical aromatherapist. So I love this, the way the curriculum actually just meshes with what I've already studied. Anyway, emotional release is healthy. We as Pentecostals or apostolics, we express our emotions through worship and through our tears. We express our emotions. However, our society teaches men and boys not to cry. But remember this, emotional release is a healthy thing. If you don't release the emotions, it can lead to a breakdown, an emotional breakdown. Another stage is when a person grieving may become panicky from thinking of nothing but the loss. They can't concentrate. They worry about losing their minds. They now have to open up to new relationships and not wallow in the loom and gloom of the loss. They have to press on. Another stage is feeling very depressed or very lonely, which is a universal phenomenon, and it's expected with any major loss. It's a part of healthy grieving. They tend to feel like no one else has gone through what I'm going through. One may have normal guilt because of the loss, or they may have neurotic guilt. Another stage is physical stress or psychosomatic stress, when symptoms of sickness actually set in. This is when doctors, nurses, and ministers, the medical community and the spiritual community have to come together to help the person, help the client, because they have symptoms, but they have not received a diagnosis for what they are complaining about. There's no physical diagnosis, but there are still symptoms. In actuality, the problem is much deeper. They are grieving. They're grieving a loss. So those communities have to come together to help the person. Another stage is anger and resentment. Although it's normal during the grieving process, these can be harmful. Thoughts become negative, grudges set in, the person becomes hostile. They become hostile towards everybody. I mean, family members, doctors, and eventually God. Why is God doing this to me? So the most devoted, godly person can experience anger and resentment, but we need to confess it to God. The stage where we get a glimpse of hope. This is another stage. As the dark clouds begin to open and we see a glimmer of light, and I thank God for the sunlight, the S-O-N light. Hope starts coming through, and the grieving person finds purpose and meaning of life, and they begin to move on, and it's a healthy thing to move on. The last stage is when we finally begin to affirm the reality of what has taken place. It's when a person realizes that they never get their old self back. There's no normal anymore. The new reality is without that person or without that thing, that job, whatever it is that was lost. Affirm that new reality. Our faith through hope helps us to affirm our new reality. Now let me just talk a little bit about the Master of Arts degree. As I said in the beginning, this degree program is about helping and transforming lives. It's about empowering others. And by learning and applying this model of life coaching, we, the mentors, are greatly helped. We've learned the patterns of thinking and behavior, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short. We've learned about pre-framing, framing, and reframing. So let's talk a little bit about setting up your practice. You'll need business cards, stationery. You'll need to advertise yourself as a board-certified life coach when you're credentialed at that stage, and then also when you receive the degree, the master's degree, you'll be able to use MA behind your name, which I look forward to very soon. You'll need to provide an agreement to your prospective clients that describe your services, your prices, and all the details spelled out. There's a brochure provided to us that entails the 9 modules of the Life Catalyst curriculum, and the subjects are amazing. Mentoring, attitude, self-destructive behavior, anger management, grief, addictive personality, stress management, time management, depression, self-esteem, guilt, loneliness, just so much, marriage, grandparenting, just amazing topics that are covered with this curriculum. And so lastly, personally, the education has been extremely enlightening to me. It truly shapes and helps the mentor in his or her personal life. And I cannot express enough that this curriculum is absolutely beneficial in home life, in ministry, and in business, in the community. Again, thank you, Dr. Weiser, and your staff for the opportunity to learn this effective program, which is definitely set apart from even the most costly life coaching programs that are available today. So I look forward to being a blessing to so many people in the days to come.